Hi, and welcome to our Christmas podcast. As you can see, I am Mrs. Claus and this is Mr. Claus.
Ho, 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 ho. Welcome, everybody.
Yeah. We're just thinking about what we were doing last week and we were looking at the cookbooks. We took some home and had a look at them and we all feel that they're not really as good as what we expected them to be, are they?
No, they need to speak to people who have dementia before they write them and ask them what they think. Because they're just wasting the time otherwise.
Well, I had one and even the recipes, some of them I couldn't understand. One had liquid smoke, whatever that is.
No.
But I think it was American version. So, and the recipes didn't inspire me either. So if they didn't inspire me, I don't know what they'd be like for yourself and Tom.
Mm.
Yeah. Because you can't even see the recipes. You don't know what this dish is going to look like.
Mm. I think we were discussing that book before that I've read, and it had black and white photographs of the food, and it looked
Bland.
horrid. Yeah,
That
bland.
one picture, we didn't even know what it was.
No, and one looked like it had eyes in it, didn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's not very descriptive.
No.
No, it's not.
I think you need the hardback versions with the proper coloured pictures. So I think that would be better, but also it's going to be more expensive as well.
Yeah, because they're expensive.
Yeah.
Even getting them off Amazon, they're still expensive, aren't they?
Yeah.
And the one that I read about Alzheimer's was, the introduction was good. It told you why you needed to take them, what it done to your brain, what effect it had on. So that was really quite interesting. But then you went to the recipes, like you were saying, and they were just
Boring.
bland.
Yeah.
And no pictures, nothing. And you just saw, so in one aspect I thought, well, maybe it doesn't need a great deal if someone who's got dementia is looking at these books. However, there's partners and everyone else doing this with us. And it was just, it wasn't even too simple. It was just quite, and as you say, some of the things were in different measures that we don't recognise as such. And we wouldn't if we're in the throes of having dementia.
Yeah.
So, and no pictures. And that's just what you need. You know what you're going to eat and how it's going to turn out.
I think when you've got visual aids as well, I think that would help like yourselves.
Yeah.
Because you can actually see what it should look like at the end product.
Yeah.
Well, they do say a picture speaks 1,000 words, don't they? So if you have the picture, you know what you're supposed to be cooking.
Yeah.
Sort of.
And the colours attract you, don't they?
Yeah.
About what you're eating.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, very good. I'll eat anything. Not bothered about the colour as long as it tastes nice. Not that I can taste anything.
You're not eating that goat.
No, not that goat with the eyes.
Bought.
No.
Oh.
I didn't expect to get the eyes with the goat, but we did.
This was another story. Tom decided he wanted to make a goat curry. So he went to one of these specialist shops that sell different meats. So he bought some goat. And when he opened it up, there was eyeballs and teeth.
Yeah. Nothing goes to waste.
And he actually made the goat curry, but it was so strong, the taste of the meat. I think Tom might have enjoyed it because he could actually taste something, but I couldn't even eat it.
I think the eyeballs put you off, didn't they?
Oh.
When they were winking at you. Hello.
That's probably why the cheese is so strong, isn't it? Goat's cheese is strong as well.
There was no eyes in that, is there?
No,
Not yet, anyway.
only E's.
Yeah, only E's.
Yeah. Later in the episode, we've got Tim, head of knowledge at Alzheimer's Society, and we're going to have a chat with him.
Oh, that's good, isn't it? You
That'd be marvellous.
probably keep us up to date on
you
research.
will. But the thing is, we'll forget
I
it,
know.
won't we? Forget by the end of the thingy.
No,
No.
it'll be interesting, won't
Yes,
it?
it
for
will
people
be.
to
Certainly
know
will.
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
they do, how they work, and what they offer.
Yeah.
And I think you as well, Marion, you went through Alzheimer's when Tom
Yeah.
was diagnosed, and they are very informative, aren't they?
Yeah.
Or will direct you to someone if they don't know. So it
They
really
were really
is.
good with us because that's the only support we had. It was from the Alzheimer's Society,
Yeah.
and they were great. I don't think we would have got through the first year without the help of them.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting, isn't it?
Oh, definitely
Yeah.
going to be interesting. Yeah.
Cut.
We really hope you're enjoying this podcast. We want this to be one of the best free resources for any family affected by dementia. With your help, we can build the biggest community in the world for supporting, guiding and comforting everyone who faces cognitive issues and the people around them. So please hit that subscribe button or share it with someone who needs it. Welcome back, everyone, and sorry I was late. I hope you had fun with Fran, Marion and Tom. It's my pleasure to introduce Tim, who is the head of knowledge of the Alzheimer's Society. Welcome, Tim.
Oh, thanks for the introduction. Yes, thanks for having me on. Really pleased to be here. I'm sorry I haven't got my Santa outfit on. I've got what my wife calls my wife called this like you're going to put a rabbit out of a hat, your Christmas waistcoat, but I haven't got the Santa outfit.
It's a bit Christmassy.
dear.
Very nice.
Yeah.
It's lovely.
Yeah.
And so to start off, Tim, how long have you been with the Alzheimer's Society and what changes have you seen in that time?
I guess I joke too long, to be honest. I've been there 15 years this December, which 2010, that's an awful long time. It's the longest I've been anywhere in one job. I guess just personally, can I just bring my mum in here? My mum, Nancy, I'll just bring her, sure, right? Just to bring her into the space. My mum had vascular dementia, and it started developing at the same time that I joined Alzheimer's Society 15 years ago. So I didn't know anything about dementia. Compared with your guests and people that have lived with it, I still don't really know very much. But my start with the society in 2010 was me getting up to speed and understanding about dementia, what it was like to live with it, what we could do to help people live well with it, which is kind of book learning, if you like. But at the same time, I was helping my mum go through a diagnosis for what turned out to be vascular dementia. So it was a really funny mix of the professional, if you like, and the personal. I'm sure there's a moral in there somewhere that with dementia, knowledge has to come from both kinds of research, if you like, but also from the lived experience. And it's really important we value both. But I noticed my mum, who'd always been very tidy and well-dressed. She was in Bristol, I was in Hampshire, went to visit, and her fridge was a complete mess. And she had bits of food on her. And I thought, oh, something's not right here. And then she started doing the repetitive questioning where the people would remember things for very long. And so I was able to support her through that. But it was a really interesting time about as I say, understanding dementia, but equally supporting someone with their own experience through it. The changes I've seen over that time, some things have not changed. I mean, when I joined, there was a screensaver that said we were on the cusp of finding a cure for dementia. That disappeared. More recently, and we'll come on to talk about treatment, there is hope, if not of a cure, at least something that can slow down the disease. But I think one thing that's really changed, and it's thanks to people like Fran and Tom, actually, is we're hearing the voice of people with dementia and the people that support them a lot more involved in decision-making and planning and getting involved in services. And equally, we're seeing dementia a lot more on in the public arena. So you think of soap opera characters. We had a great program with Anna Richardson, Dementia, Love, Loss and Dementia. We're seeing, I don't know how you guys feel, but for me, we are getting there in terms of raising awareness of dementia and reducing the stigma a bit, because I think it is still quite a stigmatizing condition. I don't know how your friends were when you told them about your diagnosis, but I know some of my mum's friends were very supportive and came round and helped her. And some of her other friends she more or less didn't speak to again. They didn't know what to say, and they were useless, and they just more or less walked away. So I think once you get that diagnosis, you do begin to understand maybe who your real friends are, I think.
I think you're right there, because I think people don't understand what dementia is, and especially in young onset dementia, people just expect it to be older people. And then when you come across people who are younger, like ourselves when we were diagnosed, and other people we know as well now, people find it difficult to actually say some things sometimes. And they always come out with, oh, well, I've had that and I felt that. And, oh, you're all right, because I forget that. But our forgetfulness is a different type of forgetfulness. So it's trying to explain to people, like you were saying, it's getting better. But I think we as dementia sufferers have got to really make sure that people do understand what's happening to us and why we are like we are and how it progresses or how it doesn't progress. You know, Tom and I are doing really well. It has progressed, but we're still doing well because we've looked at our behaviour and changed things and done things, met different people, you know. But I think, as you say, people don't know what to say to you sometimes, and they don't know whether or to be in your company. And that's a bit sad, really, because they're people that you've had in your life for a long time. I wasn't too bad, to be honest. I don't know about you, Tom.
The people I had as friends are still friends, and they treat me just the same as I was before I had dementia.
Yeah.
Just have a laugh. That's all.
Yeah.
No difference. Even where I work, they don't say I've got dementia. I'm just Tom.
And that's what keeps you going, isn't it?
Yeah.
But then we've got others in the young onset group that's here in Liverpool that haven't even told family members.
Yeah.
Because of the
reaction.
The reaction that might happen, or the way that they feel they'll be perceived by letting their whole family know that, you know, someone's been diagnosed with dementia. So the stigma is absolutely still out there, isn't it, Tim? It
is, I'm afraid. I mean, we're doing a lot of work at Alzheimer's Society to try and reduce it. I think it's interesting. I think, do you remember, I think, and I'm certainly old enough to remember when there was a lot more stigma around cancer. You talked about the big C and no one talked about it. People would almost be told they've got cancer, but not what type, which is unthinkable today. And I think something like cancer, which obviously still kills a lot of people, but more people now recover from it, is we've now got treatments and we've got cures, and it's no longer what it used to be. And I think when we get into a position through some of the research that people are able to live longer and better for dementia, and maybe even slow the disease down so that they, end up dying from something else, then I think the stigma will go, because I think it's the stigma that comes with having a disease which, in its later stages, as we know, the impact's really hard. And I think if people see that there's hope, coming partly from research, for example, I think the stigma will get less. But it's almost like, say that dementia is where cancer was like 20 years ago almost. And I think there's some truth in that.
Yeah, I totally agree. And hopefully through this podcast we're showing, and we interview not just Fran and Tom being the co-host, but we also interview many people who are many years into a diagnosis and still able to function and be part of groups and society and contribute positively to society as well. Because why wouldn't
that's
you?
Really important. That people, I was talking, doing some media work last week. I've forgotten what the story was. That's bad, isn't it? But the point that came across really strongly was that it was the person. Oh, it was Pauline Quirk. Also young.
Yeah.
and her family were talking about her. And I was making the point that it's really important people's voices are heard. Sometimes, ideally directly through them, if we can't do that through their family, but we cannot be in a position where people with dementia are excluded or not thought about. So it's great, Tom, that you mentioned being in your work, people still involving you. But it's equally a bit upsetting to hear that you've got people that aren't able to talk to their family. And it would be interesting for them to explore, maybe with someone like our support line, if they've not done that, what's stopping them doing it, because I wonder whether that would help their family support them better if they understood more. Well, it's obviously their choice.
Yeah, we'll definitely mention that to them next time. Because we're really keen to have them on the podcast and discuss that aspect of it, but then obviously they don't want to come on the podcast because they don't want their whole family to see everything. So it's a complicated issue, isn't it?
You could dress up as Santa. You wouldn't know him then, would
Yeah,
they?
we wouldn't know, It's a good idea.
I tell everybody I've got it anyway. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm still me. I'm still Tom. I still have a laugh. I still do my job.
Yeah.
Who cares what people think?
Yeah. Could you tell us a bit more about the research, Tim, in terms of the research and the treatments that you expect to be coming down the line?
No, absolutely. No, sure. It's actually a really exciting time. I'm sure people have come across this through the news and some of the stuff that Alzheimer's Society has been directly involved in. I will talk about the treatments and diagnosis and things, but I think when we think about research, we just remember it's across dementia, we're talking about basic brain research and understanding how nerve cells are affected. We are talking about diagnostics and treatments. I'll come on to those, but we're also talking about new approaches to care, technology to help people live better, and increasingly public health and understanding the risk factors why some people develop dementia. Is it genes? Is it a bit of diet? Is it something else? And at Alzheimer's Society, we're doing an awful lot of work across all of that. We fund researchers, we've got Centres of Excellence, we've got innovation programme. So we're very much leading the push on research as well as the support services that you'd mentioned. In terms of the latest research, I think most people have probably picked up. There are two main threads to this, and they're very closely related. One is that push to have earlier and more accurate diagnosis. And the idea there, of course, is that the earlier we can get into supporting some of dementia and in future treating the disease with some of these new drugs, the better that will be. And that's exactly the same as cancer. So you think about cancer screening programs to pick up cervical cancer or breast cancer, early treatment, and those are then much more treatable. Something like lung cancer, which often presents very late, is really difficult to treat. Dementia is almost a bit like lung cancer in the sense that at the moment we're picking it up when the symptoms are quite developed, and we're not able to get in as early as we'd want to. So some of the research there is looking at what we call biomarkers. So these proteins that build up in the brain, amyloid and tau. We're looking at whether we can measure those in cerebrospinal fluid. I don't know if either of you guys had a lumbar puncture when they stick a needle in your back.
Yeah.
Did you have that? I don't. Yeah. So
I did,
that. Was it quite painful? Was it? I don't know. It's
uncomfortable.
Right,
and it's a bit scary, really, when you're thinking of why they're actually doing that. But it's worth that to get a diagnosis when people are not understanding what you're saying.
Yes. I think it's a really good example of something that is important, as you say.
Yeah, very much.
For getting a diagnosis. And again, we're moving, that lumbar puncture is widely used, not as widely as we want to be, but quite certainly for people with young onset.
Yeah.
But we're trying to move to a position where we can get the same information from blood. So, you give a blood sample and it tells you what your cholesterol is or your liver's doing. So we're hoping to, through research, to develop what we call blood-based biomarkers. So instead of having that lumbar puncture, which is a bit unpleasant, even though it's really valuable, to have that blood-based, a blood test, to pick up these early signs. That would be so the research is looking at that at the moment. There are trials ongoing. We got some money from the People's Lottery, the postcode lottery, I think, to fund that, and we're doing it in partnership. But again, so that research to get early diagnosis, an accurate diagnosis, because as you probably know, at the moment, a third of people with dementia don't get diagnosis at all, which is shameful, really. And then the other side of treatment, of research rather, is the new treatments, which again, you've probably heard of these they're a bit of a mouthful, but lecanemab and donanemab are these new treatments which have been developed and approved by the MRHA, but not by NICE. So they're not currently in the NHS and won't be, sadly. But again, they're the first treatments of their kind. And those are going into the brain. You inject them intravenously. They go into the brain and they really take out a lot of the amyloid in the brain, which is what's causing a lot of the problems with Alzheimer's. And again, to do that, you need to know somebody's got that amyloid in their brain, which is why you need to lack diagnosis. And then you need to follow them up and look at how their treatment, obviously how their symptoms are, but also how well they're getting on. The really exciting about those, which is the most exciting that's probably happened to me in my 15 years here, is those new treatments are what we call disease-modifying treatments. So they're actually slowing down the disease in the brain for the first time. So I'm guessing, Fran and Tom, you might have had, and still beyond, things like donepezil, Aricept, or memantine, or some of those drugs. They're helpful, but they're treating symptoms, a bit like you might take paracetamol, which is, it's an effective drug, but it's not getting to the underlying disease in the brain, whereas these new treatments are actually taking amyloid out of the brain, and that's one of the things we think that's causing the problems. So there will be better ones coming that have got that are cheaper, have got better side effects. Have you guys been involved in trials? Because a lot of this research, obviously, we need people to volunteer and come into clinical trials for all this. Is that something you've been involved in?
No, never been asked. Have you, Tom?
I was asked, but they'd be ejected in the end. Yeah, didn't want us. So he said he had enough.
No, it's fine. I mean, it's obviously it's your choice. It's just one of the problems with research is there are not enough people with dementia getting involved in research. And when you guys have started off talking about people with dementia's voice being heard, it's also important that they're in research, so that we can develop these new treatments and diagnose. If that's your thing, it's not for everyone. Some people's lives are pretty busy. But yes, it's.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Fran, you were involved in the a trial around the behaviour change and the therapeutic. It was the problem adaptation therapy, Tim, that they ran a trial within the NHS. And Fran, you got an exceptional amount of value out of that,
Yeah, I did, and I still do now.
Yeah, through diarising and reflecting and all those things. And it's something that we're going to
changing my behaviour.
Yeah.
Diet, everything that I wouldn't have normally done until I went into this research programme, because it was not long after I'd been diagnosed. So it was so good. It was just, I mean, we do have off days, as you'll know, but when I learned how to structure things and how to deal with things, it let me look at why I avoided doing something or I couldn't do something, and then working out a plan with not just me, with my husband, family, and we just sorted it all from there, and it's been amazing.
Yeah. And
that sounds great, because so many of the things that we talk about do require people to change their behaviour, don't we? So,
you have to.
Even people that don't have dementia, when we talk about reducing risk, we say to people, exercise more, eat a healthy diet, lose weight. I've been on and off Weight Watchers for ages. I went into this weight coat this Christmas, so I'd really welcome some of those behaviour change stuff. Because, who was it said dieting's great? I've done it hundreds of times. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, well, what came out of that study, I suppose, unfortunately, because I know Fran and I saw the impact it's had on you, what came out of the review when it happened a year or 18 months after was there wasn't enough impact across the entire cohort for it to be taken forward. And I guess the cost aspect as well then looked at, like, okay, well, only 40% of people got huge benefits, so we can't afford to give it to 100% of people. So it's interesting, isn't it, though, what's come out of that, and then the learnings that we've had around, hopefully through that podcast, sharing that people might go and research problem adaptation therapy or reminiscence therapy. And it's something that we're looking to do as well through an app that we're developing to help with that reflection and looking at problems, because the health system do struggle, won't they, that sort of therapeutic aspect, whether it's mental health, there's all sorts of conditions that the NHS is struggling to sort of cope with.
And you touched on something there about the individual nature of dementia. It's not uncommon to run a trial and find that the responses of people vary widely, even though they're on the same treatment, people with dementia. And it's because everyone's experience is different, everyone's brain is different. And so it's a shame when you do the study, you kind of throw everyone together and say, well, this. But for some other people on that trial, it's been brilliant. For some, it just probably hasn't worked so well. But it's almost like, what was it about the people it worked well for that we could learn from and adapt it to that group maybe and find something else for the other people. So it's a bit frustrating when you've got something that does work well for some people, not others. Why can untangle that a bit and work out what's made it good for some.
Can I just ask you about the IV therapy? Is that something that you have to repeat? Or does it last for a certain length of time? Or is it just like the memantine in one way? Just even, I know it's different from the amyloid, but it's got to be cost effective as well, hasn't it? And that was the problem, wasn't it, in some areas and some places?
It was, yes.
That they wouldn't give it the go ahead. So were you making changes with that? Did you say you were making changes?
So at the moment, for these new drugs, the disease-modifying ones, they are given by intravenous infusion, which at the moment means you have to go to hospital. Yeah. I think it's every week or two. I don't know. It's not. Yeah, it's certainly not a one-off.
Yeah.
For one of the drugs, you need to. For one of them, you need to stay on the drug, and for another one, you can go on it, and it clears the amyloid. Then you can come off it. But you're right, Fran. The cost is partly the cost of the drug itself because it's a new drug. That's a bit of an NHS secret, so I don't know what it is. It's probably going to be quite high. But then the other costs are things like going in for the intravenous infusions and then monitoring.
Because you're an inpatient.
You have to have regular follow-up. You would have MRI scans. And so it's quite heavy. I think that's just where we are with these new treatments. And as you say, NICE decided that the clinical benefits, which are there, but they're not massive yet, they're an indication this will probably work. But when you put those benefits against the costs, and it does come down to money. Yeah. But the cost is for the drug, but it's as much for the monitoring, the delivery. So we want it to be something, as you said, like your memantine. You can just pop a pill, but we're miles off that with these drugs yet. So it's we'll get there.
Yeah. Well, we always do, don't we? Something gets simplified, like you say, from the cancer research. It will get there, but I think we're all impatient to people who are getting newly diagnosed now will be more impatient to get something of that caliber, really.
Yes.
So,
well, I would say to those people, if you can, try and get yourself into a research trial.
Yeah.
Because that's going to give you potentially a treatment, treatment, which might be the one, or a better one than we've currently got. So. For people say they go into research because they're helping the next generation. That's brilliant. Yeah. But it'd be a bit selfish maybe and think it might, I might get better care if I'm in this trial. I might get in I might one of the people that gets the new drug and it works. So I'd encourage people. We've got a joint dementia research initiative which encourages people with dementia and carers to get, and you probably come across it, to get involved in dementia research.
That's really good. Yeah, we'll put a link to that in the show notes if anyone's interested in listening. They can go and check that out on the Alzheimer Society website for sure. And what other factors make you feel hopeful, Tim?
So we've touched on research and new diagnosis and treatments. We've touched a bit on stigma and a steady push towards reducing it. I think the third thing that makes me hopeful, third and last, is probably realising that a lot more dementia is preventable than we first thought. So there have been some big studies looking at all the risk factors that feed into dementia. Some things you can't stop. Age is related to dementia. I know young onset is different, but for a lot more people get dementia in their 80s and 90s, and that there's a genetic element, but there's an awful lot of other stuff which is within our control. Slightly annoyingly, it does come down to things like, keeping physical exercise, keeping a good weight, eating healthy diet, not smoking, not drinking. So it's things you might want to do, but you really shouldn't. But we think maybe as much as 40% of dementia at a population level could be prevented if we all looked after ourselves. Hearing loss is another thing. Sleep, you probably heard about.
Yeah.
So there's lots of factors. A lot of these are actually, we probably should think about the whole lifespan, but it's particularly important for people in midlife, maybe in their 40s and 50s, because that's the time. If you're going to get dementia in later life, and I realise, Fran, you're young on today, but if you're going to get dementia in your 80s, 70s or 80s, then your brain's probably starting to pick up some of the changes, maybe like 30 years before. So middle age is a really important time to start looking after your blood pressure and your heart and things like this. It's never too late. But young onset is different. And one issue is it's really important nobody says, I've got dementia, I must have done something wrong or I'm to blame, because it's not the case. There are things you can change, but there's also things you can't change. So some people it's just bad work. So I didn't think, oh, if I'd done this or that.
We've talked about the 40-50% preventable before a bit, and Tom, I think you'd asked the question, didn't you? Because Tom played a lot of rugby and by all accounts was...
knocked out a few times.
Knocked out a few times and played the game in, what would you say, a ferocious way, Tom?
Oh, I definitely, yeah.
And I wondered whether that is, because Tom's got frontal temporal as well as Alzheimer's, whether that is a risk factor as well in terms of, getting concussions and doing sports or other activities where you're getting, your head bashed. Is that a risk factor as well?
There's still lots of emerging evidence on this. I think we've known for a while that boxing, which is the ultimate getting your head bashed, if you like, and getting knocked out, because it's the whole point of the sport, if you want to call it that. Boxing has long been linked to dementia. There's kind of boxers' dementia going back to the 1920s or 30s. Right. For other things like football and rugby and American football, I was loose head prop, Tom. I don't know what position you were. I didn't get knocked out too often. There's evidence emerging that it can be a factor, particularly if you're knocked out, because your brain at the end of the day is quite fragile in that little skull, and it doesn't like being bashed around. It knocks around the other bits of the brain, gets injured. But I would say to people, if you're doing something like football or rugby, there's lots of good things in there. The socialising is quite good. And the physical activity is really good. You're trying not to make the socialising too much of a booze fest, or else you're getting another risk factor in there. But the social life and the friendships and the physical exercise, that's all on the good side for dementia. So if you can try and look after your head in whatever you do, whether it's riding or motorbikes or rugby, do, because it's probably not doing you any favours. But I wouldn't stop playing those sports because of that, because there's lots of positives. I wouldn't encourage people to start boxing. I know that boxers are pretty fit as well, but if you're regularly getting your head knocked in the way that boxers are, then that's something that is obviously it's personal choice. But I wouldn't encourage people to take up boxing. I know it's quite rewarding if you're successful, but
we'll have to cancel that charity boxing match, Fran and Tom.
Definitely.
Well, we
got left
charity matches for things like that. We have people have come to us and said we did some white knuckle boxing.
Jesus,
it's £500, and we say we'd love to take it, but we can't.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense.
I was a tight head prop.
Oh, there you go.
You were the other side. We both had our arms around the hooker, didn't we? I was on the other side, yes.
Well battered.
Got your ears like, Fran, right?
Pardon?
Tom.
I've only got Tom's ears are like. Sorry, Tom's ears are like.
They're not too bad at the minute.
Let's have a look, Santa.
They're all right.
They're all right.
I've got the perfect sport now. I go fishing.
Yeah,
brilliant.
I used to fish as well, actually. Again, it's a bit solitary, but it's very relaxing, isn't it?
I never catch anything. I just put my stuff in the water.
That's not the point. Yeah.
Sit down under my umbrella and fall asleep.
There you go.
Then wake up an hour later, have a cup of tea, and fall asleep again. Brilliant. Ideal sport.
Have you got any other advice or any thoughts on what people in the early stages of dementia can do to keep well?
Our mantra with all of this is, I don't know how Tom and Fran found it, but when you get that diagnosis, it's obviously a huge thing to absorb.
Hello.
So give yourself time to... Am I still there? Give
yourself
time
to...
Good. Give yourself time to, I'd say to people, to adjust to that diagnosis and decide who you want to tell and how, because you are going to need support from your friends, your family, or Alzheimer's Society. But beyond that, I think that my main mantra is always to people with dementia to try and be as active as you can, because I think if you can stay physically active, you can be socially active and try and be mentally active. If you keep your body and your brain stimulated, and do things that you enjoy. Don't take up something that you're not going to enjoy. There's no point. But if you can do that, I think that is a way to help cope with the condition and slow the impact of it. Obviously, come to Alzheimer's Society, we've got lots of information. You've been kind enough to mention the support you had, online. We've got support lines, we've got local dementia advisors. We've got publications. The Dementia Guide, I don't know if you came across that, but someone that's recently diagnosed. The Dementia Guide is a really good summary. It takes you through all the practical things like power of attorney and how to have a healthy diet if you can and get a bit of exercise and plan ahead. So there's lots of practical things, but rather than necessarily giving you a long list, I'd almost say to people, take your time. Don't leave it too long, because for something like power of attorney, you need to do that reasonably soon. But do try and stay active, whatever you do, and try and have something that's physically active, so you're keeping your body moving, heart. Try and be socially active, so you're not getting lonely or isolated, because depression, social isolation isn't great. And then try and be mentally active as well. So if you like doing crossword or quizzes or whatever, or reading particular books, keep that going, or writing a diary. Anything that keeps the grey matter stimulated is going to be good. Because it will kind of keep things at bay as long as we can. But by the time that you guys are doing all of that, if you're living 5 and 8 years as well as you are, tell me what are you doing that's of that long list of things I have?
Well, I just like I like cycling and I like going to work because it's a routine. So I do. The other month I done a sponsored bike ride through the Mersey Tunnel to Chester. That was 27 miles, and I walk to work every morning and I walk home every morning, and it's really good. That keeps me going.
I just changed my lifestyle basically, and but what I do is I continue to keep up with all my friends, family, doing different things, like the podcast, for instance. Tom and I both have said we wouldn't have done nothing like this until we got what we've got. So we just look at changing our behaviour, do things that we think are the best for us, and just continue with our life, but a different life. And, I've met so many lovely people, and lots of people have come into my life now that I'd never known, and Tom's the same. The group we go to in Sedgemoor and Norris Green is amazing, because they're all people, mostly the people we're all of the same age or a similar age. And it just gives you that little bit of oomph every time you see them, and you have conversations. We go for walks for the exercise now, and we're thinking of carrying that on, like a park walk, not a park run, a park walk. But it's just being active, and you can't be mega active. You can't go running a marathon or doing something like that, but you can sort of work your way around things and do different things to what you've done before. And that's...
But isn't it... Sorry.
Yeah, go on.
Because isn't it great that for both of you, something like this and some of the other things you've mentioned have been new opportunities? So, okay, you've got dementia, but because of it, some new things.
It's changed our lives.
We've got this with some of our ambassadors and people that have gone on the media and done BBC interviews in the studio or whatever, and they would never have done that before. And so, okay, they are getting a lot of the bad stuff that comes with dementia, but equally, there are opportunities here to do things which are genuinely new and would not have presented. And you can see, even where you are, that you're still growing and developing, enjoying what you're doing and doing new things. Which, as I say, if you haven't had dementia, so obviously it's not.
Wouldn't have done
I think it's a good thing to have had it, but there are opportunities that have come from it. Yeah, which is really great, isn't it?
You've got to be positive. We are.
I still want to rob a bank, but I haven't got down to that yet.
We're Richard and Judy. We were on the BBC.
But they were on ITV.
Yeah.
Awesome. And Just finishing up, I guess, Tim, what carers, or as we would like to call them, supporters of people living with dementia, what would you say to people who are supporting someone living with dementia to help them look after themselves? Because we know that's like half of the battle if you're lucky enough to have a partner and be living with someone. What advice do you and the Alzheimer's Society bring there?
So we've got a fact sheet on this called Carers Looking After Yourselves, conveniently. So if you Google that for our website, you'll find it. I think on top of the physicality and maybe the lack of sleep and all the rest, I think carers, supporters, it's probably the emotional side of things which gets people down. If you're not sleeping well and you're feeling guilty or feel that you're not doing a great job, it can, not for everyone, but it can be upsetting. I think for carers, a couple of things I would say. Don't try and be unrealistic. Don't set yourself perfect as what you're aiming for. And if you don't achieve everything that day, or you end up muddling through, or things aren't quite as brilliant as you'd hoped, you've done your best. I'm sure the person's really grateful for you for what you've supported them. So don't try and be the kind of perfect TV carer, because nobody can. And I would also say to people, it's a bit like when you're on a plane and they say, if you've got a child or someone next to you, put the mask on before you help somebody else. So carers do need to look after yourself, because if you get burnt out and go down, then you won't be there to support the person. So ideally, if you want to go and get rid of some frustration, talk to someone and go in a separate room and punch a pillow or whatever it is, and talk to the GP. Talk to the GP. Make sure you're on the carers register, but talk to the GP if you're feeling you're getting low or depressed, because as I'm sure you know, carers sometimes don't look after their own health. And don't go to GP appointments. But if you're able to build a support around you of people that can help you take breaks and do things like go to GP appointments and not skip them, and are a little bit selfish. There's a book called The Selfish Pig's Guide to Caring for people with dementia, and it's a bit of a provocative title, but it's also saying you'll be your best carer if you're a little bit selfish and you protect some of your own time. Because the person with dementia, I'm sure they don't want you feeling guilty that you're, having to help the person. They welcome that support, but I'm sure they would want supporters, partners, carers, have their own life as well. So it's complicated, but be realistic. Think about yourself and your own health, because at the end of the day, if you get burnt out and can't care for the support the person that you're helping, then that's no good to either of you. And people feel really guilty, but again, talk to friends if you're feeling guilty about any of this, because people feel guilty they don't do as great a job as they feel they should be, and they set themselves crazy standards and all this. So there's lots of practical stuff in that fact sheet I mentioned, but just emotionally, my experience with all of this is you've got to be emotionally grounded to do anything, because if you're emotionally not kind of stable, telling or recommending people do X, Y, and Z, they'll never get onto it because they'll be fretting and worrying, and you've got to have a bedrock of stuff. I'm intrigued if we've got time to know what Fran and Tom's experience from the other side of that's been in terms of your partners or your friends or your supporters.
Oh, Marion locks me in a cupboard.
She does not.
She locks me in a cupboard when she goes to work and leaves me there for hours and hours.
By the time, I don't know how much support you need in practice. You seem to be remarkably self-supporting.
Oh, I can look after myself. It's everybody else that gets in the way. Go on.
Just being nudged by Santa Claus. What was the question? Sorry.
I don't know. It was really just the way I described it. Lots of people are not living quite as well with dementia as you two are, and they do need more support. So I just found for you wondering how much where you get your care from, and maybe you don't need as much care.
A gin bottle.
No, I don't drink gin. I'm not telling you what I do drink.
Oh, okay.
I've got a lovely family and friends, and the more that I stay active and do what I need to do for myself, they're just happy with that. But if I have a bad day, they're there when I need them to be there. So I'm very fortunate, to be honest. As I say, I've met people along the way. I knew people before, I've known people after. And the circle of people I have in my life is who I want in my life. So it's great.
And I think the community that Fran and Tom have mentioned in the young onset group as well, I think the supporters of people there, connecting with other supporters has really helped all of them, haven't they, to talk about all of the different things that they face and the challenges. And it feels like, there's 20, 30, 40, 50 people all supporting each other, catching up every month, catching up outside of it.
You have our WhatsApp, don't we?
You've got your WhatsApp group, exactly. I think that's a huge part of how, many people in the group are able to function and get through the months and enjoy life as much as possible because they're able to support each other. And I think that peer support, from everything that I've seen the last 2 or 3 years being around dementia, is unbelievably valuable. And we always encourage people listening to podcasts to try and find those groups, try and find those communities in their local area because of how powerful it can be.
I think
it's hugely important. I think, I'm head of knowledge. I've got no idea what it's like to live with dementia. I care for my mum, but you have to walk in someone else's shoes.
Definitely.
But peer support, people that the real knowledge and real useful stuff is what you get from other people who've been going through what you're going through and share stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, I cut you off, Tom. You were coming in.
I was going to say your carers need looking after as well.
Yeah.
So when Marion goes to that group with me, she gets to talk to other carers and see what they're going through, and you just have a good time, because you've got to look after your carer.
Yeah.
Great. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on, Tim.
It's been lovely.
Yeah, really nice. And you've mentioned a lot of things and a lot of resources on the Alzheimer's site website. So we'll make sure that we link out to all of them that were mentioned in the show notes for anyone looking to get involved in research or read any of the documents that you've shared or any other resources. So really appreciate your time.
It's been a genuine pleasure to be on, and I'm so inspired by Tom and Fran and how you're treating all this, and it's been I've learned so much, which is great when you get to my age. So fantastic! It's been a real pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you,
thanks
Tim.
Very much.
What do you want for Christmas?
Or you're on the naughty list because the elf over there will.
Yeah, I think it shouldn't be the elf, it's the Grinch.
What do you want, Tim?
Sorry, was that joke? Well, I need a soundtrack for that, don't I? I said at the start, I don't know the recording, I did used to have a soundtrack because I used to drop the presents off our local nursery. We've got 3 boys. When the youngest one was there at the nursery, and they gave everyone a present at Christmas time, I used to be Santa, so the nursery owner would give me the presents the night before. I'd dress up in my Santa outfit with his bag and drive down the country lanes with all the bin men waving at me with my Santa outfit. I'd get to the nursery, they all sing a little song, I'd hand out the presents, and then I'd go back to my car and change into my Civics. And I went in, the first year I'd done it, and Joe, my youngest, who was like 4 at the time, came up to me and said, Dad, Santa gave me this toy, it's great. And I said, oh, Joe, I wish I'd been there. Yes, but sad, I did have a Santa outfit for 1 or 2 office parties as well, but that got banned, so I'd Santa outfit.
Don't talk about that.
That's another story, isn't
it? Yes.
So you'd like a Santa outfit? There we go.
No.
We got there.
You won't need any padding. When I did that nursery one, I needed a pillow, but I don't anymore.
On me.
Yeah.
That is padding.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you very much, Tim.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
See ya.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Thanks so much for listening today. I hope that anyone gets any help out of this. You've enjoyed it.
Thanks again for listening today. Just a reminder to do your own research. We always take guests, scientists, researchers, people supporting people living with dementia at their word. They might talk about things that are new in science. They might talk about things that have really helped them. So just a reminder, do your own research. And thanks again for listening.